but there's always room for improvement. Like when he came in, immediately he decided that school would have to become free
And is
for
it
the young.
free?
Well,
Or, some countries, like, for instance, my country, Kenya, there's, certain time they say it's free, but you still find that, parents still have to incur costs. So is it free?
well, it is free.
Hmm.
However, you will find that the teachers are not paid well enough, and some of them
Right.
are lucky to even be paid. And some schools, you'll find that the infrastructure is not up to par.
Right.
So you will find that some classes, if you look at local news outlets, they'll show you classes outside that are just divided by drapes.
Under the trees or
Under,
something like that.
yes,
Right.
exactly. And that's not really the right environment for school education. And some buildings are torn down, they barely have any benches or any seating for the
Mhm.
children. So, whilst we are making the education free for people, which is fantastic because it means
Right.
that there's access to education,
Mhm.
but what are we doing to empower the teachers and also make it an environment where the students are able to properly learn?
Right.
Mm.
So, I mean, that was a positive, saying that
Yes,
it's free. But then
yes,
the negative is the conditions are quite
yes,
harsh.
exactly.
And that's, we also have to address that, especially here in the diaspora.
Mm.
So, I want to stick with that education a little longer, because our country is moved by, an education,
Yes.
educated people.
Mm.
And so we find that in countries where the education is high, people achieve highly, the conditions are good, there's progress.
Yes.
Now, you're praising the current president. He's been there since 2019. Surely we're now in 2025, going to 2026. Um, I remember I've done some charity missions in Congo. I've paid school fees. This was a few years ago
Okay.
for some orphans in Congo,
Mm.
and as you said, the conditions were terrible, terrible. Is there a way that the administration can prioritize education sector in terms of the conditions?
Well,
Mhm.
first, I think we need a reform
Mhm.
in the syllabus itself
Right.
because it's ever so outdated and
Mhm.
it's just not serving the people in the way that it should. So we need to be looking at external supports. Who else could we bring on board
Mhm.
externally that can come in and help us reform the education system and bringing in something new that's more that allows people to have creativity
Right.
because we're living with an education system that was given to us by King Leopold.
Right.
That is decades and decades ago, and
Mhm.
we're still on that. Whereas the world has advanced
The world has
significantly.
moved on.
Exactly.
So isn't it the responsibility of Congolese people to actually make the reform, as opposed to, again, extending our begging hand to say, please come and help us, bring us another system?
Well, there has to be. Well, it is a Congolese job.
Yeah.
It is.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is not necessarily just go and beg for help, but
Mhm.
have a look at what other nations are doing. How can
Right.
we maybe work together with them or just learn from what they're doing and incorporate that into our system? I was
Mhm.
having this conversation with a gentleman a few weeks ago. We was at an event also talking about the DRC and how we can strengthen the population and empower them. And
Mhm.
what was mentioned was that we need to, what is the word? We need to not only just learn from what other people are doing, but allow for creativity, get into vocational training,
Right.
and first develop the people through
Mhm.
infrastructure, through agriculture. But there's so much potential in the land, but the people don't have the ability to
There's no
maintain it.
infrastructure.
Yeah, there's no
There's
proper
nothing can
infrastructure.
move with no proper infrastructure.
Exactly. We
So,
have barely any roads. Our
right.
roads are so bad. Electricity is appalling. And then you also have what is the other thing? Sorry, my apologies. have to look here, because there are three things here that really form the growth
Yeah.
of a nation.
Yeah, I know
And-
that the country is rich in minerals, but you cannot
Yes.
eat the minerals.
So exactly, reliable power, roads
Right.
and telecoms, and
Right.
all these things are terrible in the DRC. It's not properly managed. And how can we develop the country when the basics are not being met? So these are the things that we need to look at first. How to get people to be hands-on, working, doing the infrastructural work,
Right.
doing the engineering and the agriculture.
It falls back to education as well, training
Yes.
institutions. It
Yes.
falls back to that.
Yes, but we're
Yes.
stuck on a lot of theoretical
Right.
education systems, but not very much of the practical. So we need to first perhaps put a pause on all the theory, look at the practical, bring the people up, bring the country up, and then we can revise the structure again. Because we've already seen that what we currently have is not working.
Right.
It's not working. The people are coming out of education with no jobs, with barely any skills. There's been organizations that have come into the DRC, they've had funding to set up irrigation systems to bring water into areas where there was lacking water,
Right.
but there was no continuity because the people have not been trained or developed enough to know how to keep it going.
Again, it just brings us back to
Exactly.
education. So we are talking about the future of DRC. And I think in this day and age, the future of any African country cannot be attained without the diaspora. So what do you think is the role of the diaspora community, the diaspora business leaders, the diaspora, society? What is our role to ensure that, DRC gets the future that it deserves? And I know for you, education is very, very important. Another thing that's important is you can't take a child to school on an empty tummy.
Exactly.
They're not going to focus. So agribusiness
Yes.
and Congo with the rainforest, the very fertile land, So what can diaspora do?
So, I mean, in that case, the diaspora, I would say we really need to remember why we came. Because a lot of the people left because they wanted to search for a better life. And they said, especially the older generation, when they left, they said, I'm going to come into the West and I'm going to learn, I'm going to grab some funds, go there and build this and build that and, help my people. And then they've come and they've become complacent.
Made their beds.
Made their beds.
And they're lying on it.
Exactly.
Do you blame them? You can't blame them because we didn't come here today to talk negative about any government. In fact, I do not want to talk about any politician or any president negatively.
Yeah.
But we can't shy away from the fact that a lot of Africans moved here not because they came to build this country, but because structures in their countries were not working. And why were they not working? And we cannot run away from the C word. Corruption.
Yes.
We have to be honest.
Yeah.
Dr. Letitia, we have to call a spade a spade. So
Yes,
we have run away from that. And then it takes a lot of convincing. I have been in groups and in discussions with Africans who have really made it here, and I look at them and I think, what a waste of talent. You could be building your continent. You could be building your country. They look at me and say, no, not my country. I will not go back. You cannot bulldoze me back into that country. I will not.
Well, because experience has taught them that the corruption there is so bad. But what would we say really brings about that corruption? Is hardship.
Right.
When people are living in situations that are so difficult,
Yes.
it becomes easy for you to con your own family members. And you have people that go back home and they want to start something. They start a business or a project, and the people are just not taking them seriously. They take your money and they don't do the job. or
Right.
they lie to you,
Yeah.
and they've got nothing to show for it. So people will then say, well, okay, if this is the case, then I don't really want to work there. So it's a matter of changing people's mindset. And I speak with people who even work in the government over there.
Right.
And they would say to you, if you ever go there, just be prepared that people's mindsets are very different to yours. So you may want to come in there wanting to bring change, and you want to show people a better way of doing something, or even just a new way, if we don't want to call it a better way,
Yes.
a new way of doing something, and they don't want to listen.
So how do we navigate?
Well, that that is a good question. How do we navigate this? It's about just being gentle. So when you go there, don't come in with that mindset of I know better because I'm coming from the West, but incorporate yourself with the people, understand them, win their heart.
Right.
Once you've
If
won
they're
their
doing some
heart,
corruption, you join them as well a little
Oh.
bit and be part of them.
no, not
You know?
just
Yeah.
them.
You know, just be, as you say, be kind, be mindful. So, you know, in certain ways, you also probably have to go with them. And before you know it, you're part of it. So, I don't, you know, there's something you mentioned is the mindset. Do you think that maybe it's that shift of mindset that we need in our continent? We don't need, we don't need any donation. We don't need any grants. We don't need any investors. We just need that shift
Exactly.
of mindset.
Exactly, that's absolutely it. And when you think of the fact that the country has been in a state of turmoil for a very long time, there's been a lot of trauma that's been afflicted onto the people. If you want to go right as far back as King Leopold, right, they were never allowed to have a voice. And then they had a dictatorship who also said
Didn't
you're not
give
allowed
them
to
a
have a voice.
voice.
If you
Yes.
dare even say something bad about the president, you'll be killed.
Right.
And we went from that to another form of dictatorship, even though it wasn't called that. But he also, Kabila, you pretty much talk bad about him, people will kill you. So they've been living in a state of fear
Yeah.
constantly.
Where their voices were
Yeah.
taken away from them.
Exactly.
So now they're just getting their voices back and they're finding their way around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Corruption.
Yeah.
Instead of speaking against it, they just think, well, I better stay quiet and just accept it, or else I could lose a lot more. So then they end up joining the system. You can't beat them, join them.
Right.
And that's what's taking us round and round in circles, because how do we develop a nation when everybody's afraid to speak up and they'd rather just join the corruption rather than stand against it? And when you're coming from the outside and you want to show people a new way, there's friction there
Right.
because they don't know it. People are afraid. It's the fear of the unknown.
Right. You know, DRC could easily be the giant of Africa. You know, I mean, the title has gone to Nigeria. But if you look at it really, if you look at the demographics, if you look at the resources, and I'm talking human resources, minerals, everything, land,
Yeah.
you know, DRC could easily take that title. And hence, for me, this is why I want to talk about the future. So what steps do you think that the people of DRC, and I'm not just pinpointing saying the government, I'm saying the people, what steps should they take to ensure that DRC moves forward with the rest of the world? And maybe, who knows, in the next 5 years, everybody will be wanting to relocate to DRC. Me, myself,
I've
already seen somewhere there. I want to, you know.
That would be brilliant. And we can say the people should go on and run their businesses anyway, but the situations also do make it hard. Tax over there is 40%. If you thought 20% in the UK was ridiculous, imagine 40%.
Is that targeting the multinationals or the actual citizens?
The residents.
Not
citizens.
multinational.
No, the citizens. 40% tax. That's almost half of your
huge.
earnings. It's huge.
Is that in Africa?
And
is that legal?
Well, it sounds like it shouldn't be. But this is the case. And they make it so difficult for you to even set up a company
Right.
that people are left with just doing their own thing, just maybe set up a stool outside of your front gate
Could
or
it be
something.
because they're doing it to attract the international community as opposed to encouraging entrepreneurs within their country?
Well, I don't know what international community wants to come and pay 40% tax.
Well,
They go to
because they see
tax-free
they're
zones.
they're attracted by the minerals. They're attracted by what Congo can offer, that the rest of the world cannot offer. So they'll be willing, I'm sure they'll be willing to pay that.
Well, when you really look at, I mean, the law is there, but it's not being followed to the way that it is. Otherwise, we
Right.
wouldn't be getting looted so much. We need to first look at strengthening our borders,
Right.
because without proper security, we'll always have the conflicts that we're having.
Right.
And the people can say, yeah, I want to build a company and make it international, but the rest of the world don't have trust in what's coming from the DRC because of all the corruption that's there. So we have to be able to break that stigma, and the way to break that stigma is we have to bring the government in, strengthen our security. Once the security is strengthened, then you can do business in a way that is less threatening.
Right.
Yes, and then that means you can now start developing trust with other nations and go and do business back and forth. We've got countries like Egypt where they can trade freely with the DRC, but they still find it difficult because of the corruption.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, a few months ago, I had the opportunity to introduce an investor into DRC. But then, when you introduce investors, they also go away and do their research. And then they found out what was happening in that part.
Yeah, Kivu. Yeah.
Goma. And then they have to take a step back. Now, in situations like this, how would you convince an investor still to invest in DRC and not think that, okay, Kivu is the entire DRC? I mean, if we had an investor on this table right now, how would you convince them to go and invest in the people of DRC?
Well, I would say this. First of all, to get from Kinshasa, because Kinshasa is the capital, to get from Kinshasa to Kivu, you have to jump on a plane.
How many hours?
Probably about 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. So
the land is
hours.
huge.
Yeah.
The land is huge. So when you consider the fact that the people from the east of the Congo, the Kivu and the Goma, are fleeing, it means that we have more opportunities to bring something to the people, more opportunities for more schools, because people are going to need education. They're fleeing that particular area of the country.
And they're moving to another area where they
So there's an opportunity for housing, there's opportunity for schooling, there's opportunity for various types of training. So this is all things that we need to be looking at. So the investor can say, right, okay, I understand that on this part of the country, this is what's going on, but it doesn't directly, even though there may be some indirect influence that's coming into Kinshasa, the capital, but it's not directly hitting them so
it's
much.
Not affecting the entire DRC.
Exactly, but it is bringing new opportunities, because it means that there's more youth on the street that's doing nothing. So bring in vocational colleges. If you can bring in vocational training centres, you've put more people into education that come out of there with the ability to start their own business or get a job, depending on the type of qualification you want to give them. If it's one that is worth being used internationally as well, then they can also come out of the country and go work somewhere else. So if we just look at the opportunities that this war is bringing, as opposed to just the downside, then we can say it's actually a place that we need to be investing in now, because the population are younger. The younger population are more than the older population.
What's the percentage of the young population?
The young population is about 60%.
60. That's quite high.
That's quite high. Yeah.
And that's a working population.
Yeah.
They are quite healthy.
Well, people are having a lot of babies because they've got no jobs, nothing else to do. So they just
probably good for the country. More population.
Well,
more manpower.
But it also means that you can't send all your children to school, because you're limited with, you don't even have a job yourself. It's hard enough for anybody to get a job. And even those that are working, it's hard enough for them to even be paid. I have a cousin there who's a nurse, and she said she goes to the hospital every day working, but they can go months and months with no pay. But they just
still go to treat
yeah,
patients.
they still go to treat the patients. They still go to do their job because, first of all, if you leave, then you're definitely not getting paid.
Right.
And secondly, it's the heart that they have for the people.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and the same goes with teachers. There are some teachers there that are going months on end without pay, but they do it because they understand that the children need an education. But even with that, they're not being provided with the right books, the right materials, not enough chairs, no benches, not enough even boards to write on. And sometimes the schools don't even have doors. So they'll wake up in the morning, somebody's stolen the little bit that they had. So
that's mad.
And how do we
crazy.
rectify this?
I mean,
the
if somebody
government must get involved.
If somebody was watching on the other side, they would straight away reach out for their pass or their phone and find a Congolese charity to donate to. But this is what we're trying to avoid. We don't want handouts. We want handout. So how do we merge this conversation that we're having here with the government, the people on the other side and the government on this side? Because from what we are seeing now, there's a huge divide. You know, how do we bring the two together to ensure that the DRC is moving forward?
Well, how do we bring the two together? First of all, we need trade on a higher level. So government to government coming together and saying this is what we could do together. We were at a meeting with some MPs a couple months ago, and we were discussing how the governments could work together. And we were looking at just the slow system that the government over there have, just to process applications. It could take months. Even just to apply for your visa, your passport has to leave the country, go into South Africa or Kenya, be stamped over there, and then flown all the way back to the DRC.
Is a sovereign country.
Yes. And things like that. How you know why does that need to be the case? So, and then my point that I raised was, if we want to talk about working together with the UK on a governmental level, and you know, some people are talking about we don't want handouts, which is great. You know, you can say that, but it does help.
We don't want handouts.
It does help if you use it correctly.
But
yes,
still, there's a way you can give a handout.
Yes. So what I said was, how about just looking at strengthening our security system within the government sector when it comes to passport security or visas or just applications for various things. Why are we not saying, okay, let's look at how the UK does it, how they came across all that tedious paperwork and made it all very computer-based, and how can we learn from that and take on that shared skills, shared knowledge, as opposed to please give us some money so that we can do this or do that. But skill sharing, that's a big, huge one.
Right.
Why are we not looking at things like that? Because people have had enough of giving money.
That's right. And as you say, it's a young population. What young population doesn't want to use their brain and their talent? They don't want to sit down for a handout. So I think then, again, this brings us back to the government to have a dialogue with its people. Okay? Government to government, that's fine. The DRC speaking with the US, that's fine. DRC speaking with Kenya next door, it's fine. DRC speaking with the UK. But it's DRC speaking with its people to find out exactly what its people want. Now, as we speak now, today, after this show, I've been invited by the UK government for a launch of the new approach of UK-Africa collaboration. So there's a new approach, you know. So it'd be interesting because the Minister of Africa is going to be there,
to hear more about
and
that.
you know, Minister of International Affairs, and actually, I think the keynote address is by the President of the African Development Bank, which is very significant. So there's going to be a lot of MPs there, a lot of policymakers, a lot of Africans, but this is they're discussing the new approach. Yeah. Now, if the UK has decided to launch a new approach of how to deal with African governments, why won't African government also launch a new approach to deal with their own people?
Yes.
You know, bring them on round tables. Let's say, okay, what is needed in this village? There's no roofs in those classrooms. Don't have roofs.
Yeah.
There's no hospitals. There's no so why can't the governors or the MPs or the ministers, why can't there be a dialogue? Why are we also, as Africans, just going through our day-to-day lives as if it's normal not to have a roof in your classroom? You should be there learning, but being rained on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's terrible.
You know?
And this is where our governments are failing us. Why
And
are
you
they
should
not having
die
this conversation?
from a disease or some fever that you shouldn't have died from because there's no hospital. And if there is a hospital, you'll have to trek how many miles?
Well,
We've normalized this. And
Yeah.
apart from, yes, I want to sit here and blame the government, but I want to blame us because we've enabled it. We've normalized.
Well, when you look at the size of the country that we're speaking of here,
Yes.
right? And there are a lot of places where the president has not even touched foot.
He doesn't even know
He
they
doesn't
exist.
even know exactly. And how, if those local governments that you've put in place, like the mayors, are not feeding back to you what they're really doing, you will never know as the president.
No, you will never know.
Yeah, and so it all boils down to who is really putting these local governments in place, and how do they hold them accountable? Because we need to have a feedback system, and if that system is broken, you can't know exactly what's going on in the country, and the people feel powerless because a lot of these local governors, all they do is just abuse their power.
But do we feel powerless in the diaspora? Our voices?
In the diaspora,
make a
we have
difference?
a voice.
Does your voice make a difference in DRC as you said in London?
Well, no.
Yeah, exactly. We have
No,
to stumble
so
on
we
that
have
because
to go
how
there.
How do we? But as you said, even if you go there,
They don't listen.
they do, yes,
and this is the thing. This is the battle that we have.
there has
We
to
have
be a
the
solution.
passion. We want to make that difference. But when you step foot there and you find that your own people that you want to help now have a backlash against you, that how do you manage that?
Perhaps there should be a think tank that involves people on the ground, government, and the diaspora.
Well, there are groups that are set up like that. I'm actually part of one of those groups. But
And how's that
again,
going?
well, we raise awareness for the things that's happening over there, and there's actually a lot of work that gets done on ground in terms of supporting the local people, showing them that they can also come to meetings and voice themselves and such. But it's getting to those policy makers to really get them to understand that there has to be a reform. And this is where the policy makers are stubborn. Absolutely stubborn. The people are becoming more aware that they need to see change in the nation.
Right.
But it's those policy makers
They're
that
waking
do not
up.
shift.
They're waking up.
Yeah, the people are waking up. It might not be as fast paced as it should have been, but they're definitely waking up. But again, they get to a certain point where it's like there's a brick wall that you can't bypass it because you're not in a government office. And this is what creates a problem. But when we understand, or when the people understand that they are the ones who voted these governments in, and therefore the government should be there to serve them. And if they're not doing that, I mean, I don't want to cry coup d'etat, but because that in itself has many problems.
Francophone countries are notorious for that.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So,
But the people have to stand up and say enough is enough. Yeah. But how long will you keep crying and seeing bloodshed? And in the DRC, there's bloodshed constantly.
Right.
Yeah, and then on top of that, crime rates are going up because the people are so poor. The only way that they can eat is to rob and to steal, and that robbing and stealing will lead to further death.
Mm.
So we have to look at what are we doing with the young people. Start with the young people, because I find when people get to a certain age, there's no going back
There's
with
no going
teaching
back.
them a new
Yes,
thing.
there's no going back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when they're young, we have to focus on the young people.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them that they have a voice. Show them what they could be doing. Expand their horizon. What can they do? Teach them coding so they can start building computers and expanding their minds and allow them to be creative. Bring in some STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Teach them these core things that really help them develop themselves. And I think we can make a huge, because people have so much ambition there.
They do. I
But
mean,
they don't see how they can come out of that.
the Congolese
difficult
people are known
situation.
for their, their flamboyant lifestyle, their fashion. They're known for this. They've given Africa this wonderful music. I know now we are hailing Afrobeat, but Lingala was,
Where it started, yeah.
where it started, and Congolese at forefront. Now you have some powerful, high-profile figures, within those industries. Why are they not using their voices to ensure that DRC is a giant?
Well, there are people making moves, and again, it's slow, but it's steady.
Right.
It's slow and steady, but we need to find people who are bold enough to say, I'm going to make one drastic move right now that's going to shake the people up.
Right.
We need that. We really need people like that.
Is it because they're avoiding being in the political arena?
Yes, a lot of them are. If you, a few years ago, if I dared even be speaking about the politics of the DRC, I would get told, you better be careful, somebody could kill you. And I remember,
you're in London,
yeah,
somebody will come and kill you.
yeah. I remember I'd gone to a protest. I think it might have been 2018, somewhere about that. I'd gone to a protest about the things in the DRC, and even my own family. They said,
They disowned you? No way.
I was getting,
they didn't want to be
I was
attached
getting
to you.
told
Like, no,
off. Yeah, they said if you keep doing this, and apparently at that time, what the government would do is they'll blacklist your name. And if you ever set foot into the airport, you can get you can get taken away.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah, yeah, it's terrible. So I was getting told off by the elders in the family. How dare you? You're gonna get us in trouble, and you just never know what's going to happen. But somebody's got to fight for the country. Somebody's got to say something. Why do you want to live in a fear? And I'm like, well, I live in London. They can't do anything to me anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is something that you need to be mindful of as well, because there are
even at this time with the new administration.
It's a bit safer.
Yes.
But you still need to tread carefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
So, because for Nigerians, even Kenyans, and the people in those industries, entertainment, they're not scared of speaking. But I often find it quite interesting why people like Kofi, what's his name, the other guy, Fali. Why wouldn't they speak? I know my friend Eddie Caddy, Eddie Caddy, obviously he's in UK mainstream television. There's a time I did a topic on Congo, and I said to him, would you mind calling in and say something about, what's happening in Kivu? And he just said, no, my sister, I'm not getting involved in that, and I thought, wow, it's actually quite serious.
The fear is very real there.
The fear is real.
People have experienced what can get done to people if they dare to speak up. And so when I talk about people not feeling empowered because they're afraid to speak up to government, it's because of things like that.
Yes.
People have died to just even call your president the word idiot. But you see that Trump gets called out all the time, like, but you wouldn't dare in a Congo, because they went through such a hard dictatorship period for decades and decades and decades. Now,
is that why they're not
empowered?
empowered to achieve? Is that why they probably don't know that the ground they're stepping on is so rich with minerals that they don't even know? They have no clue.
No.
Wow.
And even the people in the mines, a lot of them are working there, but they don't know the real value of what the mines are bringing to other nations and to even their own country. They just think it's a job. And I've seen documentaries where they've been told, if you even have an accident in the mines, don't complain. If you die in the mines, you just die. You just get left like that. If you break your arm, you break your leg, just accept it. You're not allowed to complain. If you can't continue working, get out. So they just live in a state of being oppressed, constantly oppressed. So how do you then say there is a light at the end of that tunnel? Let me just peek my head over when all you've known all your life is being pressed down. So it's a big job. And
so, Dr. Letitia, you're speaking and it's just pressing inside of me, and I'm thinking, you can't do this by yourself.
No.
You cannot. Are there some Congolese in the UK that you collaborate with that are passionate like yourself? Because from the day I met you, and that was in Parliament, was it last year?
Yes, yeah. Last year in Parliament.
I saw the passion you have for your country, the passion you have for DRC. I've not met anybody else like yourself. What are you doing to ensure that it's not just you, there are people, because heads together, many heads together make change. You know, you go farther with many heads together.
Absolutely. And I am part of some groups as well who also do raise their voice on social media, on various platforms. And also I'm working with an organisation who works quite closely with the government as advisors to the government. So it's just making sure that you've got some level of foot in there. Get your foot in there and liaise with the people and understand them before you then start saying, we need to do this, we need to do that. And on top of that, whilst there is that government level that needs to be dealt with, but we need to also be looking at what can we do as individuals. So, and as I was mentioning, vocational training, that's one of the projects that we're actually working on. It's not government backed, but it's the people helping the people. So through community funding, we'll be able to build that and start training
and perhaps that's what needs to be encouraged in a country like that. You know, you've got the manpower, you've got the resources, so it's people supporting people as opposed to relying on the government supporting the people. So I know you're clearly spreading your message in the UK, but are you spreading the same message back in DRC?
Well, we are liaising with people who are working over there and people who are here. So the message is being spread, and the ones that we talk to, they are aware that these changes need to be made, because they're fortunate enough to have been able to travel back and forth here as well. So they're seeing the differences in how the country is being led. So they're able, because they've got their foot in there, they're able to also have a little bit of a say. Now, how much can they influence it is another question. But at least the foot is there and the conversations are being had. And they're not necessarily being had on a low level either. It's on a high level. So we will get there. We will make the change. It's just a matter of exactly when. But there's been gradual change.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that, you know, as you said, you know, some of them are lucky to travel back and forth. I would say that I think there should be one day where every African is granted a visa to just travel outside of their country, or even just come out to the West and see how things work and see how, you know, the citizens interact with their leaders. Experience that, and they will go back completely changed people.
Well, I mean, that's a great idea, but
completely changed.
I think history has also shown that sometimes when they come over here, they choose to stay and not go back.
Why wouldn't you?
Well,
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't
if
you?
it's not working where you are, if you're oppressed, if you every day you wish you didn't have to wake up, because when you wake up you're hungry, there's no food. You wish you had just slept for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. You wish you never woke up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't blame them, but I think that yourself, myself, and other Africans in who have voices and also who are privileged to be in those rooms where policies are being made about Africans, we should always be the ones that scream louder, shout louder. We should be at the front talking about, you should be at the front talking about DRC. If there's anywhere they put a meeting or an event about DRC, be the one at the top and say, this is what the people of DRC need. Because often I see that there's conferences about DRC, but it's always about the mining. It's always about what about the people?
Yeah, and there's
Where's
other
the
jobs.
conferences about the people and what they're going through.
The country needs more industries than just mining. And this is what I'm tired of hearing. Anytime it's always, oh, all the resources, or the gold, or the cobalt. Yeah, but we've seen that that's not what the people are thriving on.
Yes.
So we need to start looking at other industries, agriculture, finance, technology.
Yeah, don't they eat?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got fertile soil, isn't it?
That's it. But as much as we have very fertile soils, for some reason the people are still very hungry and struggling. And that boils down to the infrastructure. There's barely any roads. So you might have a large farm, but you can't sell it to people because there's no transportation to get it across the nation.
Right.
Yeah. So
So
by
you
the
might
time
have a
you're able
plantation
to,
of tomatoes, maize, rice.
but by the time you get it from one side
Yeah.
of the country to the other, it's gone off. Because the roads are so bad.
So infrastructure
Yeah.
is missing.
Yeah, we need
From
to
cold
really assess
storage to
Yeah.
agro processing.
that. Exactly.
So really and truly, from what you're saying, DRC is a virgin for investors.
yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They just need to be able to see the value of why they're investing there. And I think so many people have been clouded by the war that they can't see what else is in that country. Because whenever they want to talk about DRC, it's always the war, the minerals.
It's two things.
Yeah.
The war minerals, okay,
Yeah.
Lingala music as well, and the flamboyant. And now today we found out about the mayonnaise.
That's a shocker.
Yes. So really and truly, then there's a way we can involve investors. There's a way we can involve the rest of the world getting into DRC, not just through minerals and whatever other things that few things that everybody talks about. The main one is minerals.
Yeah.
Called DRC minerals. So agriculture is something that maybe you think that should be pushed a lot more.
Oh, most
for DRC?
definitely. I
Yes.
mean, what country can survive without agriculture? And instead of us importing these goods, we should be the ones exporting.
Right.
Because the land mass in the DRC is so huge, so much untapped land that we can cultivate and actually send good quality food to even just our neighboring countries. It's so bad. Imagine a country where you even have to import toothpick when you've got so many trees. You mean we can't make our own
serious?
toothpick? You mean,
Are you serious?
like, but
So they must be expensive then. It must be expensive. How do they afford it? How can they afford all of this?
well, no, it's just an illustration to show
Yeah.
that we're not using our full capability, our full capacity. We're operating at below capacity. And that is just terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
And I mean, the rising population of Africa is young and talented.
Yeah.
The young and talented youth. If we had them here on the show, I'm sure they would tell us exactly what they want for DRC. But, you on the other side of the table, what would you want for the young ones in DRC?
I think what I would want for them is for them to see the possibilities that can come out of them. Because sometimes people don't know what they need
Right.
or what they're lacking because they haven't been able to see what's on the other side. But when we started works when I first started my company, we were helping the young people in Kivu in the camps,
Right.
and some of them were born in the camps, so they don't know
Right.
anything
Don't
other
know
than
anything.
just living in a tent.
And
You
they've
know?
normalized that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's what's normal to them. That's what
Yeah.
they grew up in, and so to make them see that there are other possibilities, even the ones in the capital, they're almost limited to what else could be done. So just to show them, look at what the rest of the world are doing. Look how advanced we've gone with technology. Look at what you could do. Because Africa, we say Wakanda is a fictional place, but it can be a Wakanda because we
Absolutely.
have all the resources to make it as such. But people's minds have been locked to the bare minimum. I remember when I'd visited, the first time I'd visited the DRC, and there was an outage with the water
How old
supply.
were you then?
That I was, well, I think I might have been like in my 20s. Yeah.
Right.
In my early 20s. And a young boy said to me, "Oh, do you guys carry water in buckets as well in England?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that would be suffering." And he was surprised. He was like, "Suffering? Carrying water?" I'm like, and then I realized in that moment that it's a complete norm to him. So he just saw it as normal.
It's normal.
Imagine somebody saying you every morning you've got to carry a big bucket of water on your head before you can have a shower or even just wash yourself. You're going to be like, I can't deal with this. It's too much.
It's too much.
But he saw it as something that's completely normal. And then it made me realize it's because he hasn't seen that there's another side and something else that he could be getting that makes it easier. So when we can...
Hence the reason why I said that if every African would be given a visa to travel out, just come out and just see how things work here and go back, they would go back with a
new mindset.
Completely new mindset. They would never even blame the government. Never. They would just take everything by the ball. They would take responsibilities.
Really,
by the time they knock on the government's door, they'll be coming to report to the government that, come and see what we've just done.
Yeah. And I think that's
the mindset I would really want for our continent. Just call the government and invite them to the celebration.
Come and look at our
Come and look at what we're launching.
Yeah.
Come and look at the road that we have built.
Yeah.
Come and look at the hospital we have built.
That will put the government to shame, definitely. Yeah.
But that's the whole point. If they're putting you to shame, try and put them to shame another way, but positively, as in save yourself.
Yeah.
There should be a save yourself slogan for our continent. Save yourself. Because the government is not coming, the UN is not coming, the AU is not coming. In fact, nobody is coming.
No.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
As a community, save yourself.
That's it. I like that motto. Save yourself.
Save yourself. So we've coined that here, Dr. Letitia. We're going to move that forward.
Yes.
Save yourself. We're telling you, Africans, it's your time. It's your turn. If the multinationals can come and extract your gold, your diamond, your cobalt, your coltan, your copper, why are you not extracting it? Yet it's on your backyard. In fact, no, it's on your foot. You're walking on it. It's on the ground.
Yeah.
Why are you not extracting it yourself? So we are here to let you know what the future is for us Africans, to save ourselves. Save yourself.
Absolutely. And saying that, there's actually an insurance company, because insurance in the DRC is so bad, it's almost non-existent. But there was a company that came up. I hope they're still running. They actually call themselves that, but in Lingala, it said Misunga. It's like health insurance. So Misunga means help yourself.
Help yourself.
Yeah, literally. So I like that.
I think that they should have carried that on. No, we'll do the save yourself.
Yeah.
So when are you going to DRC?
Wow.
When's your next trip?
I'd love to go in 2026.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's my time to really go there, because I've been doing some works there, working with partnerships over there, but I really need to now set my foot on ground and look at what it is that has been going on there in terms of the work we're doing, and be there firsthand to now lead the initiative properly. Because you know, when you're working with people in Africa, unless you're there to see what's really going on, they can lie to you quite a lot. So it's.
I know we're laughing
fun.
at it. It seems trivial, but it's
Yeah.
actually quite serious.
Yeah. It is.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of the things I keep saying about is a shift of mindset, complete change of mindset.
Yeah.
Because these small lies actually trickle down and affect big things.
Yeah, it does.
You know, and so imagine if we were in a continent where all of these small lies were set aside. Imagine how many big things would crop up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's not give up on, on the continent. And I'm really proud of you because you haven't given up on DRC.
Oh,
You
never.
eat, breathe, sleep it. Like
That's
every
my
day.
heart.
It's yes. And you're not just for the minerals or what DRC has. You're actually
For the people.
for the people,
Yeah.
because the people that make the country.
Yeah.
If the president was to watch you right now, what would you tell him?
Wow. I would say, Papa Chisekedi, I would say, go on ground, speak to the people in the forgotten regions, not just the capital city and the areas that people seem to be thriving, but go into those forgotten regions and hear and see their stories. Then you'll know what really needs to be done in the country.
Wow, that is direct. That's clear. And to be honest with you, a good leader, which, as you mentioned, that he's a good leader, would actually listen to that and action. Every country, as we keep saying, is about the people. No, it's not about the minerals that they can offer the rest of the world. But if they're offering what they're offering to the rest of the world, who is taking care of them? Exactly. So again, we're going to come back and just say, the people of DRC, save yourselves.
Save yourself. Misunga.
Save yourselves. Well, it's really, really lovely to always have you on the show. And DRC is very, very close to my heart. There's a wonderful, wonderful, absolutely amazing. I mean, we grew up with some of them in Kenya, So we'll always come back and share positives about DRC. And whenever you want to help, please do help. Well, but go also and invest in DRC. Well, 2026 is going to be great for all of us. So thank you so much for coming. And until next time, guys, goodbye.
You are watching Faith World TV. Faith World TV, changing the world with the Word of God.